Testing audio for the overflow room. Testing 1, 2. Testing audio for the overflow room. Test 1, 2. Still testing audio for the overflow room. 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2.
Just letting you know the Mayor hasn't officially retired yet. He's got 1.5 minutes. Okay, so thank you for your patience. "45 seconds to go. Kirsten is going to give us the instruction. Well, good afternoon, councillors. Welcome to this afternoon's special meeting of council, of which we have 3 motions that we will decide on. Councillors, welcome to you all. Welcome to the CEO, Brian Pidgeon, and particularly all of those in the gallery and those watching online, as this is an open meeting and available for those to live stream. Can I begin by acknowledging the Aboriginal parties whose songlines traverse these lands we meet on today, the Western Waka Waka, the Gibel, the Jarowa peoples, and pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the knowledge, rich traditions and bold ambitions of Australia's first people. Today, councillors, and as I mentioned earlier, the Mayor resigned from his post at 12 noon. And I guess as a group, that's a significant reason as to why we are here today. And as councillors, we obviously continue to move forward, but it's important to recognise the past. And in that case, I'd like to acknowledge the service of Paul Antonio, a farmer from Elmerran, which he is now, who was elected, ironically, on this day, this very day, the 21st of July, 41 years and 3 months ago. So it's an important milestone for him. And of course, he served on the Elmerran Shire from 1982 to 2008, and 15 years on the Toowoomba Regional Council, the last 3 terms as Mayor. So collectively, councillors, I'm sure you will join me in thanking the former Mayor of the Toowoomba Regional Council for his service, Paul Antonio. Thank you. We move forward now, councillors, to item number 2, which is the attendance, including apologies, leave of absence, granting of leave of absence. Normally at this point we would also do conflicts of interest. However, given the nature of today's meeting, that will take place after nominations are called for the first item of business, because obviously conflicts will be known then. We don't have any apologies, there's no leave of absence, and granting of leave of absence was carried out at the most recent ordinary meeting of council. Unless there's other further granting of leave that's required, councillors, we move to item number 3, which is the suspension of standing orders. Could I have someone then to move that we move into suspending standing orders? Moved by Councillor O'Hara-Sullivan, seconded by Councillor McMahon. Those in favour? That motion is carried. Councillors, we move then to item number 4, which is the nominations for position of Mayor for the Toowoomba Regional Council. And in order to do so, I'll seek nominations from the floor, and if required, we can deal with any conflicts of interest at that point. So, councillors, could I call for a nomination for the position of Mayor? Councillor Summerfield.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to nominate Councillor Jeff McDonald, who is our current deputy, or has been our deputy mayor. I've had a number of meetings with Councillor Jeff prior to today to discuss his thoughts as leader of all of us here today, and I was very comforted by the things that he is talking about putting in place for us to be able to work as a team. And I take much pleasure in nominating you, Jeff, and hopefully you'll accept that, and that the meeting will support that.
Thank you, Councillor Summerfield. I accept that nomination. Councillors, are there any more nominations for the position of Mayor? Councillor Carr?
No, I was simply going to second.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, the process is we call for nominations and then we deal with conflicts of interest after they've been worked through, and then we go through the process from there. So, Councillor Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I nominate myself for the position of Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. So we have 2 nominations, councillors, Councillor McDonald and Councillor Carroll Taylor. And therefore, councillors, conflicts of interest are now called for. Councillor James O'Shea.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. I wish to inform this meeting that I have a declarable conflict of interest in this matter as defined Section 150 EN of the Local Government Act 2009. The nature of my interest is as follows. This declarable conflict of interest arises because I am a family friend of the McDonald family, and Councillor McDonald's parents are my sister's godparents. I believe that I can act without bias in regards to a decision regarding this matter. I wish to participate in the decision in relation to this matter. I acknowledge that eligible councillors now must determine, pursuant to Section 150 ES of the Local Government Act 2009, whether I, 1, may participate in the decision about the matter, including by voting on the matter. 2, must leave the meeting, including any area set aside for the public, and stay away from the meeting whilst eligible councillors discuss and vote on the matter. Or 3, may participate in the decision about the matter subject to conditions.
Thank you, Councillor O'Shea. Now, given the nature of the conflict and the subject of the conflict, I therefore need to also remove myself from this discussion. I can stay in the room and from the vote on that matter. Therefore, councillors, with Councillor O'Shea giving those options of either staying in the room, participating in voting, staying in the room, participating and not voting, or being removed from the room for participation and voting, that will be a vote for council to make. And therefore, as someone who is then subsequently conflicted, I need to remove myself from the chair of the meeting, and therefore, as a council group, we need to nominate a chair to preside over this part of the meeting, which is simply dealing with the conflicts of Councillor O'Shea. So, Councillor Rebecca Vonhoff. Oh dear.
Thanks, Chair. I'd nominate Councillor Melissa Taylor to chair the meeting.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Nancy Summerfield. Those in favour? That motion is carried. So, James, you can stay, but you can't participate or vote on the matter. Likewise, I can stay and not participate or vote on the matter. Councillor Melissa, would you like to make your way up here?
Thank you, councillors. I will now ask if there's any questions of either Councillor James or Councillor McDonald. No. Oh, yes, Councillor O'Hara-Sullivan.
Oh, thanks, Madam Chair. Just to Councillor O'Shea, do you feel as though your relationship with Councillor McDonald's family will preclude you from making an unbiased opinion about his ability to be nominated for mayor?
Thanks, Councillor O'Hara-Sullivan. No, I don't believe so, which is why I reiterate my desire is to participate, because I do feel I can make a decision without bias.
Councillor McMahon.
Chair, thank you. Just looking at our conflict of interest register through you, Councillor O'Shea, the test for a close personal relationship is if you would call them a close friend or close enough that you might include them at a wedding party or your wedding, and that if those relationships exist, and if you thought by looking at that you would consider Councillor McDonald a close friend, that you would not be able to make an unbiased decision.
Well, he was invited to my wedding, but was unable to attend.
Well, that's a pickle.
If you want to technicality. So, but I'll reiterate what I mentioned before. Yep, as I said, the relationship is there, hence why I've declared it today through our families for longer than both of us have been alive. But as I said, I do believe that I can act without bias in regards to a decision regarding this matter, and to be take it a step further, I think I've probably demonstrated that so far this term already.
Well, I think Chair, may I just move a motion that Councillor O'Shea, appreciate there might be other questions, and I'm happy for that, doesn't have anything to gain more than an average person, considering the two have worked together for 7 years, that doesn't have anything more to gain than the average person, and then can therefore participate in the vote, in the discussion as well as by voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McMahon. I do have other questions. Councillor Von Hoff.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I was just going to ask if have we considered this matter before?
I believe we did at the last time this came up, from memory.
And the determination at that
memory?
time was that you weren't conflicted,
Correct.
I believe.
I'm certain. It definitely has. Sorry, I think on a couple of other different occasions when decision making was around Councillor McDonald.
Thanks. At the appropriate time, I'm happy to second Councillor McMahon's motion.
Thank you, Councillor Von Hoff. Councillor Summerfield. Thank you, Chair. My questioning's along the same lines. You know, we've talked quite recently about weddings, how often you interact, how often you would have a phone call, and that was used as a litmus test for me back towards the beginning of this term, was how often I spoke to somebody, and I think at the time that particular person was twice in a year. So I think it's important that we really understand how close your relationship is. You know, how often do you talk as friends? How often do you get together at family homes and that sort of thing? That all needs to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Summerfield. I think so. To answer that, I don't know. We probably speak daily, but that's on a work basis because we're here every day. Other conversations that I may have had with Councillor McDonald may be around other organisations that we're both involved with. So through Sports Darling Downs. In fact, I think the last time I would have been to the McDonald residence was for a meeting with Sports Darling Downs, actually, and so I, in my humble opinion, just thinking about it, I said it's a good question. I think 99% of the conversations I would have had with Councillor McDonald in the last 7 years, which are probably on a daily basis, would be work related in some capacity.
Councillor Carl.
Thanks, Chair. Councillor James, my questioning's along the same line too. However, whilst we make a determination in this room, and Councillor Tim has alluded to the test, it's about what do you think the public how do you think they would perceive your relationship and your ability to vote or not vote on the matter? And that for me, it doesn't matter what we think here, that for me is equally as weighted in that document for my part for us to consider. You know, I feel uncomfortable, to be honest, that's the question we all need to ask ourselves as an individual, not so much what we think collectively as a group, but that's the acid test around, you know, dare I say, the pub test. So, yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Carl. No, I appreciate that, and I agree. And I guess that's why I sought advice and guidance around this as a conflict, and felt that it was necessary that it be brought forward in this manner. And I agree with you exactly right. I've stated what I believe, and in my own mind and heart, no, I can do. However, you're exactly right. This is a big part about this is about perception, and I guess not to sort of that's why I asked the question of my colleagues, and I respect whichever decision they make, because I understand there's a perception side of things to it, as much as I can sit here and say what I firmly know and believe in my heart, the decision and the decision-making process that I trust myself with. But that's irrelevant, because it comes down to perception, and that's why, not to put everyone else in an awkward position, that's why I seek a position of my colleagues to make that decision, and I'm comfortable with whichever decision is made. Or I understand and respect whichever decision is made.
Yeah, Councillor James, you know, are you able to share some of the extent of that advice that might guide our decision here? Because, you know, I feel uncomfortable, but I need to raise it because we need to be careful. We need to look out for each other for a start, because perception out there can lead to all sorts of things. So that's what we need to be aware of. Yep.
Yeah, understand and appreciate that. Yes, basically the extent of the advice I sought was, as we know, we've just been around the table long enough now, and we've brought up these sort of scenarios, and Councillor Summerfield raised on what constitutes what is friendship, or what is, you know, how you term that. So I just sought advice through our legal area and through the CEO, and said, well, this is my potential conflict, and sought advice, and this was the decision, I suppose, or the advice that I was given was the best way to do it is obviously to raise it in this format and go through this process.
Thank you, Councillor Carl. So we do have a motion, and I will read that. That Councillor James O'Shea may participate in a decision about the matter at the meeting, including by voting on the matter. It has been moved by Councillor Tim McMahon and seconded by Councillor Rebecca von Hoff. So I will now call the vote. Those in favour? Sorry. Did you get that? Sorry, can we... those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Carried. Thank you. So I'll now ask Councillor McDonald to resume the chair.
Thank you, Councillor Melissa. Just checking, Kirsten, by way of process, did you record names there just because it was a conflict? You had that opportunity to record them? Councillor Carroll, you voted against, so that would be a no. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Just by way of making sure that we cover due process. Councillor, is there any more conflicts of interest that anyone would like to declare at this point in time? If there's not, as per process from the Local Government Act, each nomination is afforded up to 2 minutes to speak on their nomination, and then following those, and in this case it'll be 2 presentations, we then go to the first person who was nominated and ask for a mover and a seconder. That will then be voted on. If the majority of votes are that person is to be appointed the mayor, that's the end of the of the section. So, councillors, with that in mind, and I thank Councillor Summerfield for your nomination, very much indeed. And councillors, it's all about the people. With any change in leadership comes opportunity to build on the past and look positively into the future. Importantly, this change in mayoralty provided opportunity for us as the elected representatives and the strategic arm of council to reset as a group and become fiercely focused on the remaining months of this term of council to ensure next council from March 16, 2024 has the best start possible. We have a decade of region-shaping infrastructure projects that will define the next 50 to 100 years of our region. This is true, and while it's important, why it is important we have the right leadership to navigate our way through. As a local council, the government closest to the people, however, our number one priority needs to be our people internally and our people across the region. We need to be supportive of each other, be willing to have robust, inclusive debate with a clear focus of the best outcomes for our people. Inclusive, robust and clear on our future. We need to work collaboratively in close step with our CEO and general managers to ensure our strategic direction has the necessary resources to be delivered. We need to ensure all council staff are valued and empowered and feel safe to be the change makers of our organisation. Be confident to bring forward innovative ideas on how council can improve what and how we service the community. Equally, we need to be embedded in our community, the people of the Toowoomba region. These are the people that put us in this position, this very responsible position, and we need to make sure that we are embedded, in step and in tune with the community. So in brief, councillors, this is all about the people. It's all about us. It's all about all of us. And it's all about us doing the best for our region in a collaboratively, in an inclusive and a forward-focused fashion. And it'd be my absolute honour to lead this group of amazing people. Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, everyone, for coming and showing so much interest here. I have not had much time to prepare anything, but I will read from the heart as usual. Toowoomba Regional Council has achieved so much since it was formed from 7 shires and the City Council, and I acknowledge all councillors who've served on those councils since then. Our community is special, it's diverse, and it's unique, and it deserves councillors who are inclusive and work as a team for the common good. I believe this mostly happens, and the big decisions we make are usually, I believe, the right ones. Our culture in council is not great, and whilst we would always have different ideas, until we value everyone at this table, then we're falling short of what our community deserves. I have never sought the spotlight, valuing instead the achievements of we and our teams. And I've had a wonderful, privileged local government career, being mayor of an amazing community and was elected deputy mayor of this council in 2016. Despite it being the community's will, I wasn't supported in that role, and it remains the most disappointing time of my local government career. I'm an inclusive person, and I'm strongly embedded in my community, both city and region. I don't believe words mean much unless they're backed up by action. And I'm aware council cannot please everyone, but by being honest and explaining the situation in my whole 23 years on council, I've found that the majority of our wonderful community appreciate and accept our decisions. To have diversity in leadership, we are not a political council. So factions are not appropriate on this council. They have been there, it's not appropriate. I believe that our diversity, our gender diversity is not valued to date, And I'm very disappointed about that. I never found any sort of discrimination until I came here to this council. In my small council, everywhere else I've ever worked, even with the Israelis, I've always found I was absolutely equal to them, but not here. Our community gets to have its say at the local government election in 2024, and until then, we need council working together for their benefit. As always, I promise to support whoever is elected as Mayor today. So thank you all for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. So, councillors, we've heard from both of the nominations. It's now my duty to call for the first nomination and ask for a mover of that, the motion that Councillor Jeff McDonald be appointed the Mayor, which is the first point on that dot point. For the remainder of this term. Could I have someone to move that motion? Moved by Councillor Summerfield, seconded by Councillor Vonhoff. Those in favour? That motion is carried. Thank you, councillors, very much indeed. And Councillor Carroll, thank you very much for all of your work and for putting yourself forward here today. We do appreciate it very much indeed, and I know the community does as well. Councillors, I would just like to say a couple of things before we move to the next item of business, if I could. And that's firstly to thank you all very much indeed for your support. We've got so much to look forward to as a region, and we've got so much to look forward to as a group of councils to ensure that that happens. And my promise to each and every one of you is to do the very best that I can. Full stop. To do the very best I can. We're all influenced by the people around us. As elected officials, we rely heavily on each other. We absolutely need to work closely and robustly with the CEO and the general managers as they set about implementing the strategic direction. We must support all our council staff to ensure they are safe, empowered and enjoy being part of the Toowoomba Regional Council. Most significantly, we rely heavily on those closest to us, our family and friends. And I refer to all of our family and friends. To all our friends and family, thank you for your willingness to support us, each and every one of us around the table, to keep focused on the important role we are so privileged to undertake on behalf of our community. We thank you sincerely. There are a couple of sets of parents that I personally want to shout out today who couldn't be here today. My parents, John and Joan, who are watching, interestingly enough, from the Toowoomba Base Hospital, and Lisa's parents, Trevor and Cheryl Mason, live streaming from their home at Redland Bay. One of the benefits, I guess, of where we've been the last few years to have that opportunity. Thank you, and we'll see you soon. Most significantly, though, I'd like to thank Lisa in the back of the room there. Thank you for your blessings and support for me to accept this role. Lisa is never far by my side, as each of you know. And she often speaks up quite strongly against things that I should have probably done. And I appreciate that. I do appreciate that, although at the time I may not necessarily portray that feeling. Lisa's often seen doing more of the talking than I at many of the community events we're at. And in fact, often, which is hard to do, but she often comments on the value of volunteers across our region. So I look forward to Lisa being by my side, as each and every one of the councillors will be as well. Councillors, we have a task. It's a good task, and we're great people, and we can nail it. We can absolutely nail it. Thank you. What else have we got to do here, Brian, before I get too carried away? Thank you for your attendance today. We've got 2 more items that we need to vote on, which we will work through, and we may have to adjust that first one to do that. And so we've done the first motion, Kirsten. That motion is carried. So the second motion, council, is motion 2, is that a special meeting of council be scheduled, and councillors, with your indulgence, as a group, I'd like to catch up following this meeting just for a moment to work potentially through this, because I know that we didn't know what the outcome would be today, but we all have many things scheduled in our diaries already. So post this meeting, if we can discuss as a group, potentially setting aside a special meeting date for that. And the second part of that motion too is that council note that the Chief Executive Officer will, within 14 days, commence the process to fill the vacant councillor position by inviting nominations from any person who is qualified to be a councillor and from each person who was a candidate for election at the previous local government elections in 2020. So, councillors, they're the two motions before us, as I say, the first of which will be deciding a date, and this one is around appointing that other person. Can I work then to the first motion? Oh no, we'll talk about that after this, okay, as far as the Deputy Mayor. But the second one we definitely need to do, which is the process to advertise. And you'll note in the board papers that advertisements, and for those in the gallery and watching online, advertisements will be in the local papers, also on our website, and I'm sure there'll be some social media through council's channels as well in regard to that. And the time frame is that is to go out within 14 days. Councillors, we've got a bit to do, and I think the sooner we can fill these positions, the better we will all be. So with your indulgence, Mr CEO, we will press go on these as quickly as we can. So I can have someone to move motion 2, councillors, someone to move moved by Councillor Melissa Taylor, seconded by Councillor James O'Shea. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Councillors, that does conclude the order of business today. Can I thank you all sincerely for your support? Can I thank those in the gallery and those watching online? And wish you all a very good afternoon. And as I said, councillors, if we could stay for 10 minutes. What have I forgotten, Brian? Move to reinstate standing orders to close the meeting. Okay. Have someone to move that we reinstate standing orders. Councillor McMahon, Councillor Carl, those in favour? That's carried. Councillors, for the second time, that concludes the meeting. Thank you very much, and good afternoon those present in the gallery and those watching online.